There comes a point in life when the endless chase exhausts not just the body but the soul, a chase for success, a chase for recognition, a chase for perfection. And yet, the faster we run, the further away peace seems to drift. We wake up every day feeling like we are behind, like we need to catch up to something, some version of ourselves that is better, richer, more admired, more loved. But what if that doesn't exist? What if you are not meant to chase anything, but to awaken to everything already within you? There is a quiet power in trusting life, in pausing, in breathing deeply and realizing you are not incomplete. You're not waiting to become something, you're simply remembering who you already are beneath the noise. Beneath the masks, when Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first job as a TV anchor, she was told she was unfit for television. Imagine if she had chased approval after that. Imagine if she had begged the world to validate her worth. She didn't. She trusted the voice within, the quiet whisper that said, "This is not the end. You are not broken. Keep walking." She didn't chase, she aligned. Look at Steve Jobs, fired from his own company, the one he built. Most would crumble, chase a new identity, a new ladder to climb. But he stepped back. He trusted the space, the silence, the unknown. He created again, not from desperation, but from stillness, from presence. And in that presence, he found power. The truth is, what you chase runs away, like trying to hold water in your fist. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips. Trust is open hands. Trust is a still heart. Trust is knowing that your journey is not unfolding against you, but through you. The world teaches us to push harder, to hustle more, to outdo and outshine, but presence teaches us that we don't become powerful by fighting the current. We become powerful by becoming the river, flowing, guided, aligned. A flower does not chase the sun. It simply turns toward the light and trusts the process of blooming. There is a moment in every person's life where the shift happens, not outside, but within, when you stop saying, "What if it goes wrong?" and start whispering, "What if it's already going right?" Even in the pain, even in the delays, even in the silence. Trust doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing from a place of knowing. Not fear, not panic, but presence. You can run for a lifetime and still not feel worthy, or you can stop. You can breathe. You can return to yourself, not as a project to fix, but a miracle to behold. The universe is not asking you to chase it. It's waiting for you to trust it. Right now, in this moment, your life is not falling apart, it is falling into place. Stop chasing, start trusting, and watch everything change, not because you forced it, but because you finally made space for it. What you chase runs away, what you trust flows toward you. It sounds almost too simple, yet it carries a profound truth that most of us overlook in the noise of ambition, pressure, and societal expectations. From the moment we step into the world, we're taught to pursue success, pursue happiness, pursue love, and while striving has its place, the energy of chasing is rooted in fear. It whispers that we don't have enough, that we aren't enough, and that something vital is always just out of reach. So we run harder, we work longer, we fight for recognition, for money, for status, for the dream. But have you noticed? The more desperately you chase something, the more elusive it becomes. Chasing stems from a subtle but powerful belief that fulfillment lies somewhere outside of you. And so, with every step you take trying to grasp it, you reinforce a story that you are lacking, incomplete, broken in some way. But trust, real trust, is the radical act of stopping, of turning inward, of saying maybe everything I'm searching for already exists within me. This shift is not passive, it's not laziness, it's not indifference, it's a surrender into deeper intelligence, into the rhythm of life itself. Think of how relationships unfold. When someone chases love with desperation, clings to another for validation, they often push the other away. But when someone trusts their own worth, lives authentically, and holds space for connection rather than grasping for it, love flows naturally toward them. The same is true for success, creativity, even peace of mind. These things aren't things to be captured. They are states to be aligned with, and alignment comes not from striving, but from presence. Real trust requires courage. It asks you to release control, to let go of the mental timeline you've built for yourself, to stop forcing things and start listening. There's an incredible power that comes when you realize the universe is not responding to your panic, your pressure, your constant effort. It's responding to your vibration. And your vibration rises not when you chase harder, but when you settle deeper into truth, stillness, and awareness. This isn't about giving up your goals. It's about giving up the neediness, the tension, the fear that drives the chase. When you shift into trust, you're still moving forward, but the energy behind it is clean. It's inspired, not anxious. It's magnetic, and people feel it. Opportunities find you. The right people gravitate toward you. Life opens in ways your effort alone could never force. You are not meant to chase the light, you are meant to become it. To remember that what is meant for you does not need to be hunted down. It needs to be welcomed. Trust isn't something soft or passive. It's the most powerful stance you can take in a world that tells you to run. When you trust, you no longer beg the universe, you co-create with it. And that changes everything. You are not behind. You are exactly where you're meant to be. It's so easy to feel like you're late, like you've missed some invisible deadline life set without your permission. You scroll through timelines filled with people celebrating milestones, launching businesses, traveling the world, falling in love, achieving dreams. And you start to ask yourself questions that are laced with quiet panic. Why am I not there yet? What's wrong with me? Why is everyone moving ahead while I'm still trying to figure things out? But here's what no one tells you. There is no universal timeline. There is no finish line that you're racing toward. There is no clock counting down your worth. Life doesn't operate like a competition. It's not a race to see who gets there first, because there is different for everyone. And sometimes the very thing that looks like delay is actually divine preparation. Think of nature. A tree doesn't question why another tree blooms earlier in the season. It doesn't look over and panic because the one next to it is already bearing fruit. It knows instinctively that its own timing is sacred. that what's unfolding beneath the surface, what no one else sees, is just as important as what eventually blossoms. You are no different. Just because your growth is not visible doesn't mean it's not happening. Real life is not linear. There are seasons of expansion and seasons of stillness. Times when everything clicks and times when it all feels like it's falling apart. But even in the falling apart, there is wisdom, there is shaping, there is evolution happening. What if the period you're in right now, the one you've labeled as slow, stuck, or behind, is actually the exact soil you need to become who you're meant to be? We've been conditioned to measure progress by external outcomes, by jobs, income, relationships, milestones. But there's an inner unfolding that's just as important, maybe even more so. Who are you becoming in the quiet moments, in the in-between spaces, in the times where no one is watching and you're not performing, but simply being? That's where your real self takes shape. That's where trust is built. The pressure to be somewhere else, to be someone else, keeps you disconnected from the only place where life actually happens. Here and now. When you believe you're behind, you live in resistance. You treat your present moment as something broken that needs to be fixed. But presence isn't about fixing, it's about seeing clearly. It's about meeting yourself with compassion, not criticism. You were never meant to live someone else's timeline. You are here to walk your own. And that path might look nothing like the one you imagined, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. It might mean it's deeper, wiser, more aligned than you can currently see. What if you trusted that timing instead of fearing it? What if you let go of the illusion of being behind and stepped fully into the truth that everything is unfolding with purpose, even when it feels uncertain? You are not late. You are not lost. You are not behind. You are becoming. And right now, in this very breath, you are exactly where you're meant to be. We're raised to believe that if we're not constantly doing, we're falling behind, that movement equals progress and stillness is wasted time. But this belief creates a restless, anxious way of living, always pushing, always reaching, always trying to catch up to something just out of reach. We glorify the hustle and overlook the hidden strength of stillness. Yet the truth is, the most profound shifts in life rarely happen in the noise. They happen in the quiet, not when we are forcing answers, but when we've finally made enough space to hear them. There is something sacred about stillness. It's not the absence of action. It's the presence of awareness. It's where clarity lives. When you allow yourself to stop striving and simply be, you begin to notice what you've been too busy to see, your own truth, the signals from your intuition, the quiet pull of your deeper calling. Stillness reconnects you with the intelligence that lives beneath the surface of your thoughts, that deep inner knowing that doesn't shout but whispers. Think about the most important realizations in your life. Did they come when you were sprinting through tasks, buried in distractions, overwhelmed by noise? Or did they come in a moment of pause, a walk alone, a sleepless night, a moment of surrender when you finally let go of the need to control everything? That's the space where insight lives. That's where transformation begins. Striving often comes from a place of fear, a feeling that we're not enough unless we're constantly achieving. But that kind of effort can become like running on a treadmill. You're moving, but not going anywhere deeper. Stillness, on the other hand, is not rooted in fear, it's rooted in trust. Trust that you don't have to force life, trust that answers will come, trust that your value is not tied to your productivity. Albert Einstein said, I think 99 times and find nothing. I stop thinking, swim in silence, and the truth comes to me. Even in science, in art, in invention, the breakthrough moments often arrive in the quiet. Meditation, reflection, solitude. These are not luxuries, they're doorways. They allow the mind to soften and the heart to open. Stillness is where the fog begins to lift, where the next step reveals itself without being chased, where healing begins because there is finally enough space for it to rise. When you stop trying to force growth, you allow it. You make room for life to work with you instead of pushing against it. This world will always tell you to do more, try harder, move faster. But if you want real clarity, if you want true power, you must also learn how to be still. In stillness, you don't lose momentum, you gain alignment. And from that alignment comes a kind of breakthrough no amount of striving could ever produce. Your worth isn't something to be earned, it's something to be remembered. From the moment we're old enough to understand praise and reward, the world begins to teach us a dangerous lesson, that our value is conditional, that we are only as worthy as our achievements, our appearance, our success, our approval ratings, that we must do more, prove more, become more to deserve love, belonging, respect. And slowly, without realizing it, we start to internalize the belief that we are not enough as we are, that worth is some distant mountain to climb, rather than the ground we've always stood on. This belief infiltrates everything. It shapes how we show up in relationships, how we treat ourselves, how we react to failure. When you believe your worth must be earned, every mistake feels devastating, every rejection personal. You overwork, you overthink, you bend yourself into versions that don't feel true just to be accepted. You hide your vulnerability because you think it's weakness. And worst of all, you forget who you were before the world told you who to be. But the truth is, your worth is not negotiable. It is not dependent on your resume, your social status, your productivity, or your popularity. It doesn't fluctuate based on your good days or bad. It is not something outside of you that you must chase. It is the essence within you that you must remember. Think of a newborn child. That child doesn't need to do anything to be worthy. We don't look at a baby and say, "Prove to me that you are enough." We know, we feel it. The worth is undeniable. And somewhere along the way you were that child too. That worth never left you. It just got buried beneath expectations, criticism, comparison, and fear. But it's still there, waiting patiently to be reclaimed. When you begin to see yourself clearly again, without the filters of judgment and performance, you realize that your worth has always been whole. You stop needing constant validation. You stop competing for attention. You stop settling for less than you deserve. Because something shifts internally. You no longer operate from scarcity, but from rooted confidence, from a place of knowing, not arrogance, not ego, but truth. And truth doesn't need to shout, it simply is. You don't need to earn your worth through exhaustion. You don't need to prove it by achieving more than the person next to you. You don't need to beg for love, applause, or attention to feel like you matter. You already matter just by being here, just by breathing, just by existing in this moment. Remembering your worth is not a single moment of clarity. It's a practice, a daily return to yourself, a choosing again and again to speak kindly to your reflection, to set boundaries that protect your peace, to pursue goals from inspiration, not desperation. And as you do, you'll notice something beautiful. Life begins to meet you at the level of how you see yourself. Because when you remember your worth, you stop settling and you start soaring. So much of our energy is spent running after goals, running toward a version of ourselves we think we're supposed to be, running from the fear that we're not doing enough or being enough. We live in a world that celebrates the chase, the grind, the constant push. It tells us that if we want something, we have to go get it, no matter what. That rest is weakness, that slowing down means we're falling behind. But what if life doesn't need to be chased? What if everything you're seeking is already seeking you, and all it's waiting for is your trust? Trust doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means aligning your actions with faith instead of fear. It means moving forward not with frantic desperation, but with steady intention. It's the difference between pushing a door that's meant to be pulled and opening it effortlessly when you surrender to the right direction. Think of how a river flows. It doesn't fight to get where it's going. It doesn't force itself to move. It follows its natural course, guided by gravity and the shape of the land. It trusts that where it's headed is exactly where it needs to be. You are no different. When you stop trying to control every outcome and start trusting the timing, the direction, and the process, life begins to unfold in ways that your anxiety never could have planned. We chase because we don't feel safe. We believe that if we're not chasing, we'll miss our chance, that the opportunity will pass, the person will leave, the moment will disappear. But real opportunities don't run from alignment. Real connections don't require you to beg. Real purpose doesn't need to be hunted down, it needs to be remembered. There is a quiet intelligence at work in your life. It's there in the pauses, in the delays, in the detours that feel like failure but are actually redirections. When you trust this intelligence, when you begin to believe that life isn't working against you but with you, everything begins to shift. You stop grasping, you stop rushing, you start listening. You start noticing the signs you were too busy to see before. You begin to respond, not react, and your choices come from clarity, not panic. So much of what we're chasing is rooted in the belief that we must earn life's blessings. But what if you didn't need to earn what is already yours? What if the love, the peace, the success, the joy you seek is already on its way, arriving in perfect timing? shaped by everything you've gone through? To trust life is to say, even if I don't understand it right now, I believe it's unfolding for my highest good. That belief changes how you walk through the world. It softens your grip. It grounds your spirit. It replaces the chase with presence. And in that space, life meets you, not through force, but through flow. We hold on so tightly, clutching plans, people, outcomes, timelines, as if our grip is the only thing holding life together. We believe that control is the path to security, that the more we can predict and plan, the safer we'll feel, but control is an illusion, a comforting lie that often keeps us stuck, anxious, and disconnected. The harder we try to force things to go our way, the more we cloud our vision with fear and resistance. And yet, when we finally loosen our grip, even just a little, we begin to see more clearly, not because everything suddenly makes sense, but because we've created enough space for the truth to rise to the surface. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up. It means shifting from fear to trust. It means surrendering the false idea that we must micromanage every detail of our lives to be okay. It means accepting that uncertainty is not our enemy, it's our teacher. Clarity doesn't come from manipulating life into what we think it should be. It comes from accepting life as it is and listening to what it's trying to tell us. Think about the moments when you've been most stressed, overwhelmed, or lost. Were you trying to control something, a relationship, a decision, a future you couldn't quite see? Now think about the moments when peace returned. Often it wasn't because the situation changed, but because you did. Because you exhaled, because you stopped fighting what was, even for a moment. And in that release, something shifted. A new thought came through. A solution revealed itself. A weight lifted. That's clarity. That's the quiet wisdom that only appears when the mind stops shouting. We confuse control with power, but they are not the same. Control is reactive. It's rooted in fear, insecurity, and the need for certainty. Power, on the other hand, is calm. It comes from presence, from the ability to respond wisely rather than impulsively. Letting go of control is not weakness, it's a return to real strength. Because true clarity doesn't rise from a cluttered, grasping mind. It arises when we create stillness, when we allow space, when we trust that not knowing is sometimes the most honest place to be. Nature doesn't force, it unfolds. The seasons change not through struggle, but through rhythm. The waves don't control the shore. They meet it as a natural order to life that reveals itself when we stop trying to force it into our limited ideas of how things should be. When we let go of needing to control, we begin to cooperate with something deeper. Intuition, flow, divine timing. And from that cooperation, clarity is born. Letting go is not a one-time act, it's a daily practice, a constant softening of the grip, a choosing again and again to trust the moment. And the more you do, the more you realize clarity was never hiding. It was simply waiting for you to stop holding on so tightly. You don't need to become someone, you need to be someone. The world constantly tells you to strive, to improve, to evolve into a better version of yourself. And while growth is beautiful, there is a subtle lie hidden within that message, that who you are right now is not enough, that you must become something more successful, more accomplished, more polished, to be worthy of respect, love, or peace. So you chase perfection. You construct identities, you try on different masks to fit in, to impress, to belong. And in the process, you drift further and further from your essence. But the truth is, your power doesn't lie in becoming, it lies in being, in coming home to yourself, in peeling away everything you've been told you should be, so you can reconnect with who you already are underneath it all. There is nothing missing in you, there is only forgetting, only distraction, only the layers of conditioning that have obscured your inner brilliance. Being doesn't mean staying stagnant. It means being real, being rooted, being present. There's a quiet strength in someone who has stopped performing, who no longer needs to convince the world of their worth, who walks into a room without needing to prove anything. That kind of presence doesn't come from effort. It comes from authenticity. And authenticity doesn't come from becoming. It comes from being. Think of a tree. It doesn't try to become a better version of itself. It doesn't compare its branches to the tree beside it. It simply stands in its nature, rooted, grounded, reaching toward the light in its own time, in its own way. That's what being looks like. It's not loud, but it's powerful. It doesn't seek approval because it already knows it belongs. We've confused doing with identity. We've believed that our achievements define us, that our failures diminish us, that our value lies in how much we accomplish. But who are you without the titles, the roles? Who are you in the silence when no one is watching? That's the self that needs to be met. That's the self that holds the wisdom, the peace, the truth you've been seeking externally. Being is not passive, it requires courage, it demands honesty. It asks you to stand still when the world tells you to run, to speak your truth when it trembles in your throat, to choose presence over performance. In being, you reclaim what you've been chasing. You discover that the confidence you thought you had to earn was already inside you, buried beneath the noise of striving. When you stop trying to become and start allowing yourself to be, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing your life and you start living it. You stop competing, comparing, controlling, and you start listening, feeling, trusting. You align with who you are, and everything else begins to align with you. You don't need to become someone. You already are someone worthy, someone whole, someone real. And that is enough. The shift from chasing to trusting is the moment you reclaim your power. In every moment of your life, you are faced with a choice, to chase or to trust. The chase is frantic, filled with anxiety and fear of missing out. It's a constant striving, a struggle against time, a fight to reach a destination that always feels just out of reach. You chase love, success, happiness, recognition, believing that these things are something you need to earn, something that's out there waiting for you to catch it. And with every step you take in the chase, you feel a little more disconnected from yourself, a little more exhausted, a little more like you're fighting against the very life you're meant to live. But then comes a moment, a quiet, powerful moment, when you realize that life isn't something to chase, it's something to trust. This shift doesn't happen because of a specific event or because everything suddenly aligns. It happens when you stop fighting the current, when you stop running after what you think you need, and instead you begin to trust that what you seek is already on its way to you. Trust isn't passive, it's an active belief that life, in its own time and way, will deliver exactly what you need. Trust isn't about letting go of your goals, it's about releasing the desperation to control them. When you trust, you stop scrambling for validation. You stop checking the clock, measuring your progress against a false timeline set by others. You begin to recognize that the external world is simply a reflection of your internal world. If you are desperate, the world will mirror that desperation. If you are at peace, the world will reflect peace back to you. The energy of chasing is rooted in lack. It says, I don't have enough, so I must go out and get it. But the energy of trusting says, I am enough, I am worthy, I am open to receiving what is meant for me. This shift is a reclamation of your power, because in trusting you reclaim the ability to be present in your own life. You stop living in a state of constant yearning. The chase keeps you in a future that doesn't exist yet, robbing you of the joy and fulfillment available right now. But when you trust, you stop putting your happiness on hold for some future event or achievement. You start to see the richness in the present moment. You begin to recognize that the journey itself is as valuable as the destination. Life isn't something that happens to you, it happens with you. It flows with you when you trust the process. Trusting isn't about being passive or complacent. It doesn't mean you don't take action or have goals. What it means is that your action is aligned with purpose, not fear. When you trust, your decisions come from clarity, not desperation. You choose based on what feels right in your heart, not what looks good on paper. And in doing so, you create a life that feels authentic, whole, and fulfilled. Reclaiming your power doesn't require more effort. It requires more faith. Faith that the universe, your life, and your path are unfolding exactly as they should. The more you trust, the less you need to chase. And in that release, you find not only peace, but an unshakable power that allows you to walk through the world with confidence, knowing that everything you need is already coming toward you. In the end, life is not a race, nor is it a constant battle to become something more than you already are. The true power lies in shifting from a mindset of chasing to one of trusting. When we stop believing that we have to prove ourselves and start remembering that our worth has always been within us, we unlock a deeper strength. Trusting allows us to step into stillness where clarity and wisdom naturally emerge. It's in letting go of the need to control that we find the flow of life, guiding us toward our truest path. Instead of relentlessly pursuing what we think we need, we learn to be present, to align with the rhythm of life, and to trust that everything we seek is already on its way. When we trust, we release the struggle and embrace the truth that we are enough right here, right now.